It is Cole Ferrell who's joining me today. An 11-1 MMA record, fighting professionally since 2016. I guess I'll just ask you first. I mean, what got you started on this journey, right? This is a tough road to go down, and you're doing pretty well at it at 11-1. So what got you started in it?
Very good question. And John, first off, an honor to be speaking with you today. Really, what got me started, to make a long story as short as I can make it, I was about 12 or 11 years old. And throughout, I would say, the age of 8 to 11, like any kid, I'm changing what I want to be when I grow up every day, right? Or every week. Doctor, lawyer. I wanted to be a baker for 1 month at that age. So no one ever took me seriously, right? And I was in Walmart one day and I saw a UFC DVD. Now, take in mind, I'm 30 years old. So at this point, I'm 12, 11. So you're talking 2004, 3, 5. My math's not on point, but you get the time frame I'm talking.
Right.
I was in Walmart and I saw a UFC DVD. It was Ortiz versus Liddell 2, a few Matt Hughes main events. It was that era, right, when these guys were still active and thriving. And I went to my mom in Walmart and I begged her to buy me the UFC DVDs because something captured my eye. I was like, it's not boxing. It's not wrestling, fake wrestling, which I'm a wrestling fan. I know they put in a lot of work, no disrespect to the wrestlers, but it's not WWE. It's not boxing. What is this? So she gets me 2 or 3 DVDs. I go home. I come from humble beginnings, single mom. So I go to our little house we were at, and I put in that DVD. And from that moment forward, I was hooked. And I never changed what I wanted to be when I grew up from that day forward, literally, John. So I went in the kitchen after. I'm like, hey, Mom, I know what I want to be. I told her, she took it with a grain of salt in her defense. I'm a
Right.
kid. So, yeah, man. And then long story short, I just kind of did quick research. Where do I start? So I started doing backyard MMA fights in like 8th grade, 9th grade. They're on YouTube, 1 or 2 of them still. And then 8th grade going into 9th grade, I started high school wrestling, 9th grade. And because they didn't have middle school wrestling or club wrestling where I'm from in South Georgia at the time. So high school wrestling was my only option. And I didn't start wrestling to go to the Olympics. I started wrestling because I knew I wanted to be an MMA fighter and have the best base. I was kind of part of that era where like the well-rounded kids that are 13, 15 are like training MMA. And walked in the wrestling room, got slammed, humbled quick. Only wrestled a few years in high school, started jiu-jitsu around the same time, amateur boxing. And then at age 18, John, I had my first amateur MMA fight, 2011, age 18, and never looked back. Went pro, like you said, in 2016, 5 years after being an amateur. I've accumulated a great record. Making it to the big league in MMA is priority for me still. It is still my ultimate goal. I'm 11-1. I think I need to beat 2 or 3 guys with winning records, like tough competition to prove my spot and get that call. But man, this Friday, it's my BKFC debut. So I just want to prove I'm a complete fighter, and I'm starting to ramble. So yeah, to answer your question, John, man, I was in Walmart. I was a kid. DVD, UFC got me hooked. And here I am today at 30 years old, kind of entering my prime, I feel like. And man, I'm just honored to be healthy and alive, doing what I love.
That's awesome, man. No. I love that. That's a great story. And for somebody, because, when you're a kid and you say you want to do something, people go, okay, right, you're going to be a pro fighter. But then you take all the
Exactly.
steps to get there, and it's amazing. So, all right, let's talk about it, right? Because as you said, 11-1, impressive MMA record. I know that the last year has been kind of crazy for you, right? Like all these canceled fights and not getting to compete. And then ultimately, you're going to BKFC this Friday, May 12th, BKFC 42. So I guess I just wondered, how did this opportunity come about? And was it maybe some of the frustration of these canceled fights that led you to say, okay, yes, I'm on this MMA journey, but I'm going to take this little BKFC pit stop in the meantime?
Very good question, and you're pretty accurate, John. I mean, if you look at my record, I took my first loss April 2021. I had a 4-5 year undefeated run, 10-0, got humbled. And after taking that first loss in pro MMA, I had literally 6 canceled fights. 5 out of the 6 were my opponents. 1 was me, like getting injured. Only 3 of those are on Tapology, but yeah, I got frustrated, and then after a year and a half of inactivity in pro MMA, I finally got a fight, my first international one this past October. Got the first round W, beat up a journeyman who was the only guy who would commit. He was tough though, and I put him away. Then had another pushed back event for MMA, another canceled fight, and kind of like you said, John, it's not only a pit stop. I think it's a good move for me from a marketing standpoint. There's a lot of fans of BKFC who maybe aren't crazy about MMA that I can bring back over. And it's not to say I won't return to BKFC either. I just think from a marketing and branding standpoint, it's a good move if you look at the social engagement of BKFC, especially after McGregor, Perry situation. The universe has kind of aligned these stars. Like, all of that happened at BKFC 41. What are the chances my debut is BKFC 42? So, yeah, John, priority, make it to the big league in my MMA journey, but let's make some money. BKFC pays well, and I'm getting married in July. So, I have a great job and all of that, but hey, it's a good paycheck. And outside of everything else, John, to conclude that answer, I want to prove I'm a complete fighter. So I'm 11-1 MMA, and like 10 out of those 11 wins were all on the ground, even 2 of the TKOs. And my only loss was standing, a 14-second fluke. Shout out to my opponent. He was the better man that night, but I would have won 9 out of 10 times. And I got dropped coming in sloppy on the feet in my only MMA loss. So it's a good branding move, John, but it's also a good opportunity to prove I am a well-rounded fighter. And I'm not just the MMA jiu-jitsu wrestler guy, right? Because I am limited to boxing and clinch work Friday night. So it's a good opportunity to showcase that I can fight anywhere. Throw me in Thailand in a Thai fight, I'll hold my own. Throw me in the boxing ring, BKFC, jiu-jitsu competition. I am a complete fighter, and I think the BKFC debut is a great opportunity to showcase that.
That's pretty fantastic, man. As you said, the timing couldn't be better, right? Coming off the biggest event in their company history. So, I mean, you got to think interest is at an all-time high. I guess, how did you approach training for this, right? I mean, we've seen the history, like mixed martial artists have done pretty good in BKFC, and I think it's the toughness that just comes along with, being in mixed martial arts competitions. You're used to getting hit with 4-ounce gloves, which is a lot closer to a bare fist than, a big boxing glove. So, I mean, I think they do well. But how did you train for this? Obviously the punching technique is a little bit different. You have to be careful about not breaking the hands. What was your approach to this?
Very good question. I did switch up a lot of my training. I did veer away from wrestling. So typically I go to actual wrestling practices, whether it be at a university or a wrestling program locally, 4 to 5 days a week, just to keep that grueling wrestling shape there. But since I'm focused on BKFC, I have minimized the wrestling and grappling and MMA structured training. And I've been doing a lot of mitt work, John, a lot of strategy things. By myself, I've had a little bit of training with BKFC veteran Joe Elmore. He will be in my corner Friday night. He's local. I've been friends with the guy for 10 years, so a good relationship there. But for me, I just feel like the training had to be different, because in MMA with 4-ounce gloves, if I hit you on the top of your head, I might be all right. BKFC, if I hit you anywhere up here, I might not be all right. So the science behind wanting the knuckles to kind of land here instead of here, and I've conditioned them a lot through different conditioning exercises, etc. So yeah, man, it's crazy. I got in a lot of street fights growing up. I did grow up pretty rough, right? And I'd say 40-50 street fights, no exaggeration. And like half of those legit, like, let's meet and go, not like spur of the moment at the bar or in a bathroom, which I've had those as well, man. I've matured. It's been about 5 years, okay? So I've matured a lot. But what I'm getting at here is like this BKFC opportunity, John, reminds me of 8th grade, 9th grade, everyone around the school saying, hey, come watch Cole fight after. He's fighting so-and-so, bare knuckle, let's go. I feel like a little kid again. I'm getting that same type of adrenaline all over again. And there's a lot of similarities there because my hometown, I live in Atlanta. I've been in Atlanta, Alpharetta for 10 years, but my hometown of Brunswick, Georgia and St. Simon's Island, it's like, man, everyone's behind me, hometown love. Feels like I'm another bare knuckle fight, except this time literally on the highest platform you could fight bare knuckle. So I'm just blessed. I'm honored. I'm not underestimating my opponent. Anything can happen with those bare knuckles. So, man, I'm just excited to go in there and really showcase my skills.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome. So your excitement for it is, it's catching. And I should point out to everybody, this is not a pay-per-view. I know the last one's a pay-per-view. This is back to the traditional, as long as your subscription's on there, you can tune in. It's obviously a high-quality broadcast. If people are just starting to watch BKFC, they really do a great job in production. So, Cole, let me ask you, maybe you don't know until after this, right? I mean, you said it. You want to go to the highest level of MMA, but in the meantime, this isn't a bad place to be, and you're used to bare knuckle fighting. So I guess, how do you see things going? I imagine you could take a little time off to get them to have the wedding and enjoy that time. But do you see going back to MMA this year, or is that on hold for a little bit? Do you see trying to balance both journeys at the same time with BKFC and MMA? Do you see focusing just on BKFC, or do you have to wait until this weekend to make a decision? Like, what does the future hold for you?
Damn, John, another great question. So I do have an MMA bout scheduled. It's not official. The contract has not been signed, but it's 90% in there for July 8th, 2 or 3 weeks before the wedding. So that's a lot for me and my fiance to continue discussing. But at 30 years old, yes, I'm entering my prime, but time forgives no one, John. So I can't afford to put my dreams of MMA on hold. Literally, I can't. I want to have 2 to 3 pro MMA fights this year, 2023. And my goal is to end this year 14-1 rather than 11-1. 13-1 worst case scenario. I want to stay active. I want the competition level to increase, to shut haters up, and to prove to myself I belong at the highest level in MMA. So the BKFC is a pit stop. Let's see how it goes. I am not opposed to returning. The production's well. They've treated me well. They're paying me well. And I'm a fan of BKFC. But the objective is always the same. But I'm just kind of juggling it all. And I do plan to stay active in MMA after this BKFC debut this year.
I love it, man. Well, listen, hey, a black eye in a wedding photo is kind of cool if you're a professional
fighter.
Kind
of badass, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're not a professional fighter, it looks kind of stupid. But if that's what you do, it's kind of cool.
It's understood. You get it.
Understood, man. I love it. Well, Cole, listen, man, I wish you the best of luck. I know it's a busy week. It's fight week for you. It's Friday, May 12th, BKFC 42. We'll certainly be tuned into that. We'll wait for the MMA news, and we'll watch that as well. And, Cole, just wish you the best of luck in all this, and hopefully we can talk again very soon.
John, pleasure meeting you. You're great at what you do, brother. Keep doing your thing, and have a wonderful day.